let's do some myth busting here, and I'm going to talk about glucose for the millionth time by now, but it keeps on coming up, so we're going to have to talk about it. Now, I feel like I'm doing a lot of myth busting, and I am almost replying to things like trends or podcasts, and this is not really, I'm not trying to get on the bandwagon of doing that, but there are subjects that are coming up which I think need to be discussed, and as such I feel very strongly that it's helpful when we do. So we live in a world of influencers. The social media platforms we follow are very much highlighting influencers talking about the trends, and sometimes the trends that they have set, or that they've really taken that wave and going with it to the extent that a trend that they maybe jumped on became an appropriation in some ways, and they started having not only the platform to talk about these things the way that they want, but also like products attached to it. When it comes to glucose, this is not different. So the first thing I want to talk about, CGMs became a massive thing a couple of years ago. In fact, in 2021 I was working for a Finnish company called Veri that has been now bought by Oura, the Oura Ring, which was actually based on wearing a CGM and tracking your vitals and your metabolic health. And it was done to optimize the lifestyle of healthy people without diabetes. In fact, when people wrote in and asked about advice about diabetes, the first thing we would say is, look, this is not for diabetes patients. This is actually for healthy people that want to track their metabolism and understand how the food impacts them. So it became a big thing, but CGMs were created to basically save lives. Because when you are a diabetic, when you are a diabetes, I should say not diabetic, we should not use that word. I've been told by people with diabetes they don't want to be called diabetics. I get it. So it was created to help people with diabetes not to basically die in their sleep if they ever have a drop in glucose that is too low and can go into diabetes coma. So the CGM is connected to an app, an alarm, and it will go off if the levels are too low, so they can wake up, eat something, and then basically not go into a coma or potentially die. So this is why CGMs were created. Since somebody thought, let's just see how food is impacting us, and now healthy people are going around with a CGM or thinking about getting a CGM. I'm not completely opposed to that approach, in the sense that, especially as women going through perimenopause, menopause, our food is going to change on how it affects us. It's just natural because of hormones. And I'm not opposed to wearing it once a year to see what's going on, just to get an idea. But without the understanding what spikes are and how they work, it is a problem. People who are completely physiologically healthy are becoming paranoid about seeing their glucose spikes go up. So let me just explain this to you guys. We have a baseline where we are fasting and our glucose is at a certain level. We also have a baseline between meals when we are not eating. We're not in a fast mode, but we are not eating, and that glucose is in a certain level. When we eat something, especially if it contains starches or any carbohydrates at all, so your fruit and veggies, that amount of glucose into the blood corresponding to what you ate will make your glucose levels rise into the blood. So you see this curve going up. Now, that is not unusual for somebody to even go up 30 points, 20 points, right? It's not unusual. It's in fact perfectly fine. Of course, if you eat something completely void of fiber, your surge would be quicker and higher than if you had something that has fiber, because fiber makes the digestion of your food slower. So that is the difference between these things. But everybody will see a rise in glucose, and then a healthy metabolically healthy person will then see those levels go down to baseline, which is where they started from, within 2 hours. If you have checked your blood glucose, your blood work, you've done your blood work, you checked your A1C, which is normal, below 5.4. If you've done your fasting glucose is below 100, then you are healthy. If your cholesterol is good, your heart health in general white and red blood cells look good, everything looks okay, then these movements up and down are completely normal. Now, what we don't want to have, of course, is a continuous up and down. If you're somebody that is just snacking on crisps and chocolate and candies and on and off, you finish one, you start another within an hour, yeah, you're gonna see this, and that's not good. But not because of the spike. Like, the spike per se is the normal physiological response. The problem is what you're doing to your body as you go up and down all the time. You're telling the body that what it releases to make the glucose go into the cells is not enough. Moreover, when we're doing this food that is void of fiber, void of nutrients, then we also, have so many more calories in this context that count a lot, that we don't burn oftentimes, because these foods that are low nutrients are high calories and they're not satisfying, so we eat more. We will have more fat into our body. Like, this stuff has to go somewhere. And when your cells start packing the fat, they become resistant to glucose. So the sugar is not the problem, the fat becomes the problem. So now, what happens? So if you do this all the time, that's when you're going to start becoming insulin resistant and possibly start having diabetes at some point in your life. So you're damaging your metabolic health. That is a different conversation. And you don't need a CGM for that. You just have to really start eating healthy, start eating a lot of fiber, start healing your gut, start understanding why you're eating all the time. If you are you hungry, or are you stressed? Are you emotional? What's going on? So those things we have to check into. Now, you probably can already think about somebody I'm referring to when it comes to these spikes. It's the glucose goddess. This girl has made a real killing when it comes to the space, because her story is compelling. She had her own story. I understand why she shared it, and but her assumption, the N of one, right? It's not 100% accurate, and she has created a movement where I feel everybody now is becoming obsessed about spikes and afraid of them. So something that is normal is becoming abnormal, over controlled, and it's really creating a lot of issues around food. And on top of it, that I can say she has experience, she's sharing, but when I see then the products that are attached to the claims, such as buy this, have it before your meal, and it will make your glucose spikes be less, and you look at the package, somebody bought it and I looked at it, it's basically fiber from broccoli, from cruciferous vegetables and other vegetables. And I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, this is a money-making machine scheme. It's not about the wellness and the health of people, and I don't appreciate it. You want to make sure that you are having enough fiber. Eat the broccoli, eat the carrots, eat the leafy greens, eat the food, and leave the pills. Because relying on fiber from a little pill so that you don't have a spike in your glucose levels when you're eating your meal, which maybe won't even be healthy, by the way. I don't know, because there is a lot of her, eat this before the croissant kind of thing. It baffles me. Like, the croissant is never going to be healthy, so telling people to do that is almost telling them you can do this every day, it's fine, because your glucose levels won't go as high because you're having this pill that will give you the fiber not to get it to shoot up. Over time, doesn't even matter. Like, croissants are treats. Have them if you like them occasionally. Like, I'm even going to say once a week if you like. But the rest of the time, please eat real food and focus on the food we know are good for us, like the veggies, the fruit, the pulses, the nuts, the seeds. I mean, of course we have to adjust everything to our personal needs and requirements, but eat the real food, right? Don't worry about bloody pills. Like, if you really need fiber, extra fiber, if you're eating real food or you don't, you can look at psyllium husk, which I actually, again, you will never really hear me talk about it and suggest it for the general population, because it can create digestive issues depending on where you are. So, I use it as a binder in some raw recipes. That's about it. So, I wanted to really share this. Don't fall for the hype, and please, let's stop putting these influencers on a pedestal. They're making so much money sharing things that are really hurting people. Because even if you physically somebody is like, I feel better, I have less spikes, I'm eating better, I'm really happy if that's the outcome. But psychologically, it's creating a lot of issues. For somebody to having to go and get a CGM and spend, by the way, around 75 euros, 75 pounds every 2 weeks to control the spikes that they have around food when they are metabolically healthy and they don't have any pre-diabetes or diabetes or insulin resistance, it's crazy. Crazy. Sorry, you spend that money on real food, on good food. You know what? Buy more veggies, buy more fruit, buy more nuts and seeds. Like, I don't know, go on a holiday, save it to go on a holiday, do something nice for you. That is my headache. That's my peeve with this. So I hope that you maybe came across this. Maybe you have even faced it. Maybe you have even experienced that frustration with this. I don't know. Share in the comment. Let me know, because I like to have this conversation. And if you have questions that you want to bust around this topic, again, share them below, because we need to talk about it. All right, that was my glucose one. Bye.